Okay, welcome to Kerbal Space Program. Without any further ado, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be doing today. So today, I've already said today twice, never mind. What we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to build a ship very quickly, very simply, because you don't want to be sat around watching a YouTube video when you are wanting to build spacecraft. And I'm sick of seeing tutorials on YouTube which are 5-6 parters that are just people flying and crashing rockets. It's simple to make a rocket, don't worry about it, just follow this simple tutorial and you'll be done. So, simple rocket. Let's call this right. Right. Okay, so you've got several different types of pods. You've got ones like this, which is not particularly good to use because it has a weird thing. This is generally better for like thingy craft, whatever they're called, the ones that you make in the other hangar. So don't ever use one of them. You've got this, whatever. Let me grab it now. Come on, you're gonna crash on me. You're gonna be a little bitch and crash on me. Yeah. Fuck's sake. Let's try again. Right. Okay, so you got the Mark 1 command pod. This is normally the thing that you want to be using for manned missions. That or the slightly smaller one. But if I'm honest, the one you want to be using is the Mark 1-2 command pod. It can take 3 people. It's got very easy connection stuff. You scroll all the way to the top, and you want to make this very simply. Okay, every single spacecraft has to have several things. So an advanced SAS module, it's generally better to place that either underneath or on top of here. I like to put the advanced one underneath here, but that always fucks up all of like the settings and stuff, and I've noticed that it's easy if you just stick it on top. A parachute is something you're going to be needing. You can find that in the utilities, I believe, and you're going to want one like the nose cone parachute like that, or the slightly larger parachute like that. And it looks alright, doesn't it? Okay, now what you're going to want is other stuff. For example, let's say you want something to move your ship instead of just like having it sat around. These are the biggest fuel containers you can get. They're orange, they're massive, they're beautiful. But when it comes down to stuff, they're so heavy that the rockets can't generally move them and they're not that efficient. You want to be using stuff that's slightly smaller for your first few missions. So let's say stuff like that. So we want that for our main rocket, and we want a smaller stage rocket so that we can actually get into space with something that's not going to send us flying around. How much power has that got? That has 650. That's got 1,500. So you can see the difference. This is going to get us into space and move us around relatively easily. So if we move that down and give the entire rocket another smaller fuel segment, so let's say that and that, and then give that a absolutely tiny rocket. So let's give it, God, those things get in the way. Give it something like that. That'd be lovely. Okay, then we want obviously simple stuff, separators, to make sure that you can separate the rocket off. That's absolutely terribly done, because you need one of the proper size. It's actually going to cut it off nicely. Something like that. Don't worry about this, we'll sort that out with structural stuff in a second. So once we've got that, stick another one of these on the bottom of here after a separator, obviously, because we can't have like that without a separator. So let's shift one of them on there, and then the most powerful rocket we've got. Okay, and that's not the most powerful rocket, that's the most powerful rocket. Now that should get us up rather nicely, but it's not going to be enough. So let's also stick on this symmetry thing, which lets us put more than one rocket on at once. Shove them around the sides, make sure they're detachable at the same time, and so they'll burn and run out, etc. It's fine. They'll be dead weight for a bit, but I'm not putting in stuff. Fuck it, I'll teach you how to put separators on as well, because I'm nice. So structural, we want separators, so hydraulic detachments or this radial decoupler. I'm going to use that because I like that one better. I want to snap it to angle so it's just easier and looks nicer. Snap it to that angle, and then just stick that and snap that to there. And then those are going to ignite for some reason at a different time to that one. I'm not quite sure why. Where is that one? Oh, it's just the same place. Okay. So we want that one to ignite at the same time as that. We want them to separate whenever they finish. That's fine. That to separate then, and that to ignite. That to separate. That to ignite. We want a separate stage for the parachute at the end of it. Sorted. That's our staging complete. Now, other stuff that you may want to do. For example, if you want to reinforce things, you're going to want to use some sort of connectors like this. So let's just do that. You see, that's already much more reinforced than it was. These break, by the way, whenever you do anything really. Also, fuel lines break. So if we can find a fuel line anywhere, I'm not quite sure where these are because I never actually use the fuel lines. There they are. You can drag them from there and into the centre, and they make the fuel flow from this into there and so forth, so you can spread out the power and whatnot, so that your fuel lasts long when you can get more power for less fuel to use it. It's just generally better to share it if you've got more engines. Finally, stuff like sides, you have a communicatron. These don't really do anything at the moment as far as I'm aware. None of this really does anything, just for decoration, I think. Solar panels, they're nice. You can have them when you're in space if you absolutely feel like it. I'll stick some on for no particular reason, some random batteries. Let's just the big ones on for the fun of it. And then we're pretty much done. Things like dockings and stuff like that should be really more advanced than this. We're just building a simple rocket that will get us into space, into an orbit, and then we can just bring it back down again. Stuff when you're going up. Things like fins, you only want on your lower stages. Tail fin, winglets, small control surfaces, things like that. You don't really need them. Just put them around so they actually work. I mean, you can stick them on if I want, but they're really not going to make that much difference. I'm not sure which ones of these that are standard. There you go. Right, so stuff like this is okay, but it's only going to work on your lower stages, because as soon as you get to space, they're just dead weight because there's no air in space, so it's completely pointless. Alright, let's just try that. Simple space thing, that'll do. And let's launch that. Clear the launch pad and proceed. Okay, we're on the launch pad again. Not sure if I'm deciding to stick the first cut in because it was okay, it was fine, but I didn't do my roll in the right place. So we're going to throttle up, and we're going to stick our SAS module on. This keeps the rocket straight, uses these things, and uses basically everything, including this module up here that I showed you earlier. Keeps the rocket straight, so when you launch, it does this. Keeps it straight instead of it rolling all over the place. RCS is for in space. That keeps like little RCS nodules that you can get to put on the outside of your spacecraft, which makes it easier to handle in space. But don't need them right now, so we're keeping that off. And there aren't any on the ship anyway, because I haven't showed you how to put them on, because it's a simple spacecraft, not a complicated one. You can see it's wobbling a little bit here. The structural connection isn't great, but that's because we've got a lot of thrust down the bottom and very little mass up here. Could have probably done with some structural connectors here, but it's fine. You can see that here where I put the pylons, even though it's really thin, I've got the structural connectors, so it keeps it nice and rigid. They're always good to use, and when you separate, they still stay. They separate with it, so it's fine. Same with the fuel. So when this runs out, we'll just separate, and ignite. And there we have it. Nice and simple, nice and easy, and now we're off into space. Ideally, I would have small rocket boosters on this one as well, because that could help. Solid rockets, for your information, are always at 100% throttle. Things like liquid fuel are not. You can adjust the power that you put into them, so I'm going to just drop this down a little bit, save some fuel. Still accelerating. Just slightly. Not too much though. Little controllers should know. In vehicle activity, I think that stands for, I'm not really sure, an extra vehicle activity or exterior, I'm not really sure. You can go inside and look at stuff inside. It's pretty. Look at the other Kerbals. So that one's terrified, but it's fine. If you want to exit, you just press the bracket, I believe. There you go. You press the bracket closest to enter. We're slowly getting to the point where we want to start our turn. Not quite there yet. I want to get somewhere here. I want a slightly higher orbit than I would normally. Stick something in. You can press M, you can see our orbit. The apoapsis is the highest bit of the orbit. Our periapsis is somewhere inside Kerbal at the moment. I think it's a periapsis, not really sure what it's called. Okay, at this point I'm going to start my roll. I want to go to the 90 degree. Doesn't matter where you are looking at the spacecraft, as long as you are looking at this gimbal here. This is what we use, the gimbal. Okay, separate that off. Power to the masses, and then we have it. Chop down the power a little bit. And you will see, slowly but surely, our height of our orbit is decreasing, but the outside is increasing. It's having a good idea to power down a little bit actually now. Just so that we can wait, go a little bit higher, and then power up to max. When we get to here, and hopefully we'll have enough thrust to get us into orbit. I think we might not, but we can always give it a try. Let's try now actually. One thing I can tell you is I am not good at this game. However, I know how to get rockets into orbit. And I know how to build rockets that can get into orbit. I'm just not particularly good at getting them there. Extend the solar panels right now, you can do that. Just right click each one. Let's extend panels. And you get some solar panels to give you absolutely no energy whatsoever to use. Which is always fun. They'll rotate towards the sun and just sort of heat themselves up. Now the apoapsis, that's it. We're not going to get into orbit because I've not given it enough power. But hey, shit happens. The Kerbal's going to be fine. Let's pretend we've been in orbit for a long time because it's effectively exactly the same thing with the same height. So let's pretend we're in orbit and we want to come down. So what we're going to do is when I come down, we want to bring down our apoapsis or periapsis, wherever we are. We want to bring it down. So when we are there, whichever one we want, we are going to turn in the opposite direction and we are going to thrust. See this little cross here that's through the gimbal? That means that, the green thing on the gimbal, that means that you are facing the opposite direction to the motion that you are going in, the direction that you're going in. So right now you can see that our speed is decreasing ridiculously quickly, and you'll also see that this will be coming in a lot and it will go almost vertical. At the moment it doesn't really matter what angle you enter the atmosphere, but in practice, if you enter the atmosphere at anything other than like, I think it's something stupid like 2 degrees off, it your spacecraft will bounce off the atmosphere or it will burn up. Either way, it's a bit dangerous. Let's go and track these panels now so they don't blow off when we enter the atmosphere, which we are slowly doing now. You can see it's still coming in as we slow down more and more and more. And let's turn this directly into our path. There you go, something like that. Burn off as much fuel as possible. You can see it's very quickly shrinking now. You see it's also moving that way, so if we just take that off, move it in. You shouldn't actually descend to the surface like this, by the way. You should probably have decoupled at some point by now. But I'm going to just do this for fun. So I burn out all the rocket. Okay, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to turn it into it. So just a little bit. Just turn it into it. Turn off the RCS. Just try and get this under control for a second. There we go, I'm full power. Try and burn it up. It's not really going to work, is it? No, okay. Right, so what I'll do now is, as you're doing this, just take out the parachute. And you'll just safely float at an insane speed towards the ground. You don't want to fire the engine. Ideally I should have put some sort of separation here, but because I entered it with the engine and slowed it down, it's fine. But you want to stick a separator on or whatever here so that you can separate it off. And you can use the heat shield to enter the atmosphere safely. See, now I'm slowing down quite nicely. I should enter a relatively easy 50 meters per second, something like that. which will be nice and safe for our little Kerbals. They should be nice and happy. You can see the nose code's been blown off. If you want to, for any reason, you can cut the parachute, but I'm not going to do that because that's just dangerous. Oh shit. There you go. There's your Kerbals, nice and happy in the sea. Look at them all absolutely loving the time they're having. There you go, that was it. That's how I do it successfully. We've landed, the Kerbals are fine. We haven't got into orbit, but that wasn't really the point. The point was to show you how to make a rocket that'll fly without any stupid shit. So thank you for watching. That was a nice clap. I think that probably ruined your hearing because it was quite loud. I will see you next time. Love you all. Bye bye.